Right then, this is a walk around video for a very special car. This is a Honda Civic. You can see it's the 1.8 SR Tourer, which is a rare beast indeed. This car's covered 69,000 miles and is in absolutely beautiful condition throughout. It really is a gorgeous car. So I'm just waiting for the car to go past. Finished in grey with a full black leather interior. Been wonderfully looked after mechanically as well with a full service history. Front of the car, new style front end, looks absolutely fantastic on the car. Sorry, slightly shaky hand. Lights and lenses clear, intact. There's no cracks, no condensation. Bumper's really clean. Likewise, bottom of the car is exceptionally clean there. Near side of the vehicle, passenger side, absolutely smooth in the panels. No indentations that are immediately obvious to me. Near side front alloy, pretty much unmarked there. Near side rear alloy, again, absolutely fantastic. My favourite angle for these estates or Tourers is this. I mean, it really is. It's a very handsome looking car. Not all estate cars look good. They can look quite boxy and utilitarian, but this has got some style to it. Offside, driver side rather, again, absolutely mirror smooth. It's one of the best used cars we've had in a long time in terms of its condition. Offside rear alloy, again, completely unmarked. And then finally, offside front alloy, again, without a mark on it. There will be a microscopic mark somewhere on the car, but you're going to have to look very hard indeed to find one. Coming to the back of the car now, absolutely cavernous boots. And it's been beautifully finished by Honda as well. And unlike so many estate cars which get very heavily used, this one looks as though it's hardly been used at all in the back. Come to the back of the car now, black leather interior, again, is in extraordinary condition. Quite often the Civics, being family cars, get quite heavily used, but this one's been given the lightest of lives. Coming to the front of the passenger side, again, absolutely stunning condition. Finally come to the driver's door card. As with all of the rest, it's pretty much unmarked there. Can't see any marks on there at all. Footwell area is lovely and clean. In the driver's seat, this is one that's meant to show all of the wear and shows hardly anything at all. So inside the car now, engine's running through this section so the dash can be seen illuminated, as always try and do. Dashboard looks absolutely factory fresh. It's in beautiful condition. If I come up here, hopefully you can see 69,116 miles, and as a driver that's the view you get of the dashboard. I mean, it is simply stunning, I have to say. Videos quite often don't do justice to a car, and this is certainly one of those cases. Finally, just to show you, owner's manual pack and lock and wheel nut key are both here and present with the car. Right then, this is a quick road test video, and this is for a Honda Civic 1.8 SR Tourer. This car is registered, I can see it, RO16LCZ, and with a mileage of 69,109 recorded. The reason for doing all of our videos, and especially, as we say, this section, the road test section, is because we want to make sure that people see the cars we're advertising actually in operation. We know, unfortunately, to our cost, just how frustrating it can be to go and see a car which can look perfectly good in photographs and in the description, only to get there and find out when you drive it it's got a fundamental issue which you would much rather know about before setting off. So hence that's why we do it. We also do it on these lovely quiet country roads very close to our premises. We're very lucky indeed to live in this area and work in this area. This is also the section of road we take customers on for test drives, so hopefully then it'll be representative of what you'd feel yourself should you be offered a test drive in the car. So coming to the car, it is a quite exceptional vehicle, this one. It's been beautifully looked after in every single way. Complete spoiler alert, so if you don't want to watch the rest of the video, it drives essentially as new. And I hate saying that because it's such a used car cliche, but occasionally it's merited, and in this car it certainly is. Stop my car, the keys rattling there. Engine starts instantly, of course, and settles to a completely smooth, even idle. There are no warning lights on the dashboard at all relating to the engine or any other part of the car. And temperature gauge is running at a third, which is exactly where it's meant to be on a Honda vehicle when they're up to operating temperature. And this has been running for some time now. The engine is typical Honda 4-cylinder petrol. It's an absolute peach of an engine. It's far more flexible than you give it credit for. That's 4th gear, uphill, 1500 RPM, put my foot down, and it just picks up and goes. But when it picks up and goes, it does with kind of vigour, but it's got a lovely induction sound. Quiet, very, very quiet, very smooth as well. Mechanically, it's a wonderful, wonderful engine. And they also give exceptional economy that's achievable. Sometimes economy, you struggle to get, but with these, it really is very, very simple indeed. You just drive it normally with the flow of the traffic, and they can, I've had a couple of 1.8s. I tend to average sort of mid-40s doing shorter trips and easily over 50 on longer trips. So it's the economy's there to be got if it needs be. Engine then feeds through into clutch and gearbox. Clutch in the car absolutely perfect. Bike point exactly where it's meant to be. It's lovely and smooth in operation. Gearbox, one of the best manual gearboxes you'll ever use, because like most front wheel drive cars now, the gear lever here is actually joined to the gearbox underneath by cables. Some manufacturers then give you a kind of a vague, lifeless, light, relatively easy to use gearbox, but with no feel at all. This feels, although it isn't, as though it's going directly into a gearbox underneath. It's got a kind of a weighty mechanical feel to it. Lovely feeling of actuation in every single gear, and that feels as tight as a drum and as it would have done when it was new. I've never touched a manual gearbox on one of these cars ever. They are incredibly robust. Steering of the car, again, is just fantastic. It's beautifully weighted, makes the car feel lovely and secure and solid on the road. It tracks absolutely faithfully, dead straight. There's no vibrations at this speed or any speed up to the legal limit. But going through corners like this, minimal input required, absolutely accurate and precise. It's sensational, absolutely sensational. And same goes for the chassis, because the chassis is eminently capable of keeping up with the steering in terms of inputs and how it follows through the corners. It flows through corners with ease. Any kind of road surface, off camber, on camber, camber, different radius corners, all the sort of horrible corners you can get, this kind of eats them up, and it does so with vigour. It's one of the few cars that lots of people who buy, who, I was going to say unfortunately, that's an awful thing to say, who may have sort of, started a family, that kind of thing, who may have had sporty cars in the past, which weren't overly practical. They love these because it's not, you're not giving up on driving just to have a kind of a practical car. It's one that engages with you. It's also got, because it's the SR, this kind of adaptive rear damping on the suspension. So you've got a little button down here, which you can change the suspension settings. I'm currently in normal, so I can press the button there. I'm now in comfort mode, and this is a really horrible surface going along here, and it just, you can hear it, you can hardly feel it. It's so smooth. And then press it again, and you go to dynamic, and that's immediately much firmer. If you've got a lot of weight in the back of the car, it's quite a handy one to use. Because I'm ancient and my body aches the whole time, I generally drive these in comfort mode the whole time for what you lose in kind of absolute sort of precision with chassis, the handling, or normal. The dynamic I sort of save for rare events where, as I said, I'm sort of probably carrying something quite heavy. What I'm also looking for on road test, by the way, is listening out for any kind of noises coming from the suspension that shouldn't be there, and there's nothing at all. It's absolutely spot on. So it's as tight as the proverbial drum. Just going to get up to speed and give the brakes a good old shove. Such a lovely engine, that. So bear with me, I'll just hold on to things while I'm just going to give them a good shove. Really good. So I get it so I can get the hazard lights to come on, so obviously plenty of pressure, loads of bite. No pulsing, no vibrations, all exactly as they should be. So spot on there. So coming inside the car, the first thing you notice, of course, with pretty much every single Honda of this generation is what brilliantly put together car they are. So many of its competitors, premium spec ones and premium build ones, after a few years and a few miles, especially estate cars where they're sort of more open in the back and they possibly lose a bit of rigidity in the chassis, can creak and groan and rattle about. There isn't any. There's no rattles in it, but that's normal for the shape Civic. They are brilliantly put together. And also, what a wonderful interior. I mean, it's in astonishing condition in here. It's just so clean, and it's a credit to who's owned the car, because it's, I couldn't keep a car as clean as this, I have to say. But it's just a brilliant dashboard, and I know before people sort of have a go at me, beauty's in the eye of the beholder. I love this dashboard design and others don't, but I think that's a really good design in some ways, because it's got that Marmite effect where some people like it, some people don't. But I think that's good because it polarizes opinion, but at least people then have an opinion on it rather than just jumping into the usual bland interior with the normal center stack, the normal dash design and variations on exactly the same theme. This couldn't be anything other than a Civic. The most conventional part is actually the centre stack. It is pretty conventional. Nice big screen sat nav, all working perfectly. Dual zone climate control, which gives you different temperatures side to side and blowing out absolutely ice cold air. And obviously your heated seats all working exactly as they should. What the videos don't show you is when you press every single button in a Civic, you've got this wonderful, beautifully damped quality of actuation. They are sensationally manufactured. But my favourite part is this wonderful two-tier design directly in front. So the upper tier has the information you're looking at on a more regular basis. So if you change like radio settings or fan speed like I'm there, you've got a display down here as normal, but you've got a much bigger display comes up there, so you're not having to look down into the bowels of the car to take that information in. But my favourite part has always been this isolated big digital speedo directly in front of me. It basically means you can look ahead at the road, pedestrians, cyclists, cars, whatever happens to be, but at the corner of your eye you can clearly see the speed you're doing at all times. It is utter genius. And as I say, it is, I'm not here to sort of necessarily fly Honda's flag completely with complete bias, because the next generation, which I love, by the way, I think it's a fantastic car, it is this Honda shame they've put that digital speedo down into the cluster below. And for those who'd never experienced this, they're not missing anything. But for those who'd had this generation Civic and maybe gone to the next one, it just gets slightly lost in the display for me. I just think this works brilliantly. Because down below, right in the middle of the steering wheel, you've got the cluster for your big rev counter, flanked by your temperature and fuel gauges, all displayed beautifully. And you've got this wonderful steering wheel, thick rimmed, leather bound, feels absolutely as new to hold. And the car is sensational, absolutely sensational. As I said at the start, there's no issues with this. It drives just wonderfully. If you've got any questions, don't hesitate, do give us a call.